The hospital room radiated an atmosphere of tranquility, cleanliness, and comfort, reminiscent of a cozy, home-like space. This was unsurprising, considering the exorbitant fees associated with this exclusive private clinic. Only wealthy women could afford to give birth within these walls, and Emily was among them. At 24 years old, she was strikingly beautiful, with a warm smile and gentle eyes. Normally calm and composed, Emily's demeanor had drastically shifted. Restlessness overtook her as she paced anxiously, unable to find peace. Emily was about to embark on the incredible journey of motherhood, but what made her situation even more extraordinary was that she was expecting not just one, but 3 precious babies. This was a rare occurrence in the clinic, and even in the entire city, which meant that the doctors were constantly by her side, meticulously examining her, conducting countless tests, and debating whether or not she would require a complicated surgical procedure. Emily, filled with a mixture of anxiety and trepidation, desperately wished to avoid surgery at all costs. Yet, the obstetricians were skeptical that she would be able to handle the immense challenge on her own. The laborious process took a toll on the weary woman, both physically and emotionally. However, what truly terrified Emily was the realization that she would ultimately be raising her 3 little miracles as a single mother, facing the daunting task of parenthood all by herself. The blame for this twisted narrative fell squarely on the shoulders of her strict father. As night fell and Emily sought solace in sleep, her mind was plagued by the tumultuous events that had shaped her complicated existence. Memories flooded her thoughts, leaving her feeling unsettled and distraught. Emily had been adopted by her affluent father, Richard, a renowned businessman who had proudly welcomed her into his life at the tender age of 5. The details of her time in the orphanage were hazy, mere fragments of a distant past. There were memories of a stern caretaker named Polly, bland soup that turned her stomach, and endless battles with her fellow orphans. Since those early days, Emily's life had taken a tumultuous turn. Growing up, Emily had always been taught to respect her elders and never question their authority. Even after being adopted, this mindset remained ingrained in her. However, now she found herself in a grand and opulent mansion where she no longer needed to hide bread and candy under her pillow. Her every desire was fulfilled, but her father proved to be exceedingly strict and demanding. Every minute of her life was meticulously scheduled. Though her father did show occasional moments of leniency, Emily's days consisted of going to school, followed by swimming and language lessons, and only then returning home. Despite the demanding schedule, Emily excelled in her studies. Although intelligent, she was still just a young child. There were moments when she longed to join in with the other kids, to enjoy a trip to the cinema with her classmates, or simply sleep in until dinner time, even just once. However, her father disapproved. He adamantly forbade her from pursuing her desires and ensured that she dedicated herself to her studies, striving to meet his high expectations. After completing high school, she enrolled in university and excelled academically, graduating with distinction. She had no time for friends or nights out at clubs, as her father did not sanction such activities. Instead, he endeavored to impart his business acumen onto her, teaching her the ins and outs of running a successful enterprise and how to safeguard herself against competitors who might seek to undermine her. However, his expectations were shattered. Emily, being gentle, reserved, and compassionate, didn't quite mesh with the ambitious entrepreneurs her father admired. This prompted Richard to alter his approach, urging Emily to marry quickly and bear children, as he required someone to take over the business in his twilight years, given his daughter's perceived inability to manage it. Without much delay, her father found a suitable suitor for Emily, Daniel, the governor's son. Having carefully assessed the potential outcomes of such a union long before, Richard had already anticipated the advantages it would bring. Emily, aware of her strict father's expectations, didn't dare defy him and began dating the young man. Initially, there was even a certain affinity between them, but it quickly became apparent that they were polar opposites. Daniel possessed an intense and fiery temperament, constantly seeking out exhilarating experiences. He craved excitement in every aspect of life. In stark contrast, Emily was a completely different person. Daniel's disposition was foreign and unsettling to her. In the serene solitude of the park, she found solace in quiet walks, immersing herself in the pages of a book and being enveloped by the gentle melodies of soft music. However, the lively atmosphere of clubs and rock shows, places that Daniel frequently dragged her to, left her feeling uneasy, plagued by pounding headaches from the deafening music and the raucous crowd, and yearning for an escape. Daniel, on the other hand, was consumed by boredom within the confines of their home, his restlessness driving him into the arms of a captivating woman named Mia. Unable to cultivate a lasting bond, the couple succumbed to the inevitable and parted ways, their dreams of building a family shattered. Filled with indignation, Richard chastised Emily, questioning her choices. "Emily, what on earth were you thinking? You turned away from my business and rejected the opportunity for marriage. You let go of such a promising future with your fiancé. How could you?" Frustrated, he continued, "You know what, my dear? Do as you please, but I implore you to grant me the gift of a grandchild, all right?" The following day was marked on their calendar as the day they would visit the fertility center. A highly recommended doctor had been scheduled to meet with them, his expertise expected to shed light on whether or not they could conceive a child. Despite living together for half a year, Emily and Daniel had not yet experienced the joy of pregnancy. Doubts began to creep into Emily's mind. Perhaps there was an underlying issue preventing them from starting a family. Initially, Emily felt deeply hurt by the doctor's inquiry. She believed he was prying into their personal lives, even going so far as to accuse her of being infertile. The doctor's approach left her feeling offended and defensive. Tired of being treated like a puppet, she had grown weary. Nevertheless, out of sheer habit, the young woman reluctantly agreed to visit the fertility center. Deep down, she was also anxious. Following a thorough examination, the doctor delivered a shocking diagnosis to Emily. "Please have a seat and listen carefully. I'm about to reveal something that may be extremely upsetting," the doctor began. "You have congenital abnormalities, which means you will never be able to conceive a child." Overwhelmed with disbelief, Emily burst into tears. The news was beyond anything she had ever anticipated. The realization that she would never experience motherhood was devastating. However, the doctor offered a glimmer of hope, urging her not to despair. "Do not weep, for all is not lost. Medical advancements have come a long way, and now nothing is impossible. Indeed, conceiving through traditional means may not be possible, but fortunately, there is a solution: artificial insemination. This procedure involves extracting material from both you and your partner and transferring it to the uterus, allowing nature to take its course. Admittedly, it can be quite costly, but the potential to give birth to twins or even triplets is significantly higher. To maximize the chances of success, we transfer multiple embryos. Rest assured, our track record boasts an impressive 85% success rate, with countless families fulfilling their dreams of parenthood. So, please, do not lose hope. You too have the opportunity for a miracle." With tears streaming down her face, Emily managed to muster a smile. "Doctor, I can't thank you enough for your words of encouragement. Once I find the love of my life and tie the knot, I promise I'll seek your guidance immediately. Although it's still far too soon to even consider such matters. After all, I don't even have a boyfriend," she confessed, unaware that her father lurked just outside the door, eavesdropping on their conversation. Little did she know, Richard had become consumed by an overwhelming obsession. He was in a state of delirium, desperately longing for grandchildren and persistently urging Emily to take this unconventional step. At first, the girl hesitated. "Dad, how can you even imagine it?" she questioned. "Daniel and I broke up. I don't even have a potential father for the child. Who will be the baby's daddy? And why the rush? After all, I'm not even 40 years old." But the determined businessman would not be deterred. "Darling, please try to listen and understand," he pleaded. "Yes, you may not be 40 yet, but I'm already in my 60s. I have raised you as my own daughter throughout your life. I have always provided you with everything you desired, from top-notch tutors to stylish clothing and the latest smartphones. I spared no expense, and now all I ask of you is to grant me the joy of becoming a grandparent. The doctor has informed us that you are unable to conceive naturally, so why should we wait any longer? I will diligently search through the donor database, thoroughly examining their backgrounds to select the perfect candidate. If not now, then when? Time is of the essence, and I want to ensure that I have enough time to guide my future grandchildren toward success. After all, what will happen to the empire I have tirelessly built over the years if I am unable to witness their triumphs? Her father's proposal left Emily feeling conflicted. On one hand, she couldn't shake the feeling that his plan was unnatural and would only lead to trouble. It seemed as though he was using her solely as a means to have grandchildren, disregarding her own desires and happiness. The thought made her feel hurt and sick to her stomach. Yet, deep down, there was a part of her that couldn't deny the truth in his words. She didn't want to remain childless, and the idea of having a son or daughter brought her joy. It was a difficult decision to make, but one that she knew she had to face. In her current circumstance, conceiving a child could only occur through an encounter with a stranger, but does it really matter? Countless instances exist where a fiancé abandons a pregnant woman, a situation that is arguably even more distressing. And then, as if by magic, among the candidates who could help her with artificial insemination, Aaron appeared, a young man with a gentle smile, radiating warmth, and a sun-kissed healthy body. Emily always felt Aaron was unlike anyone she had ever met, yet his background remained a mystery. Despite Richard's urging, she disregarded any reservations and chose him as her artificial insemination partner. For a while, nobody noticed her absence, and the infants were peacefully slumbering. The entire operation proceeded without a hitch. Her heart pounded so forcefully that it felt as if it might burst from her chest. This marked the first instance in her life where she defied her father's orders and followed her own path. The hospital room exuded an air of tranquility, cleanliness, and comfort, reminiscent of the cozy atmosphere one would find at home. This was no surprise, given the exorbitant cost associated with this exclusive private clinic. Only affluent women had the privilege of giving birth within these walls, and Emily was among them. At 24 years old, she possessed striking beauty, complemented by a warm smile and gentle eyes. Normally calm and composed, Emily's demeanor had drastically changed. Restlessness consumed her as she paced anxiously, unable to find solace. Emily was eagerly preparing herself to embark on the incredible journey of motherhood. However, what made her situation even more extraordinary was that she was expecting not just one but 3 precious bundles of joy. The day of Emily's discharge had finally arrived, filling her with anticipation since the morning. As the clock struck 11, she stepped outside with her babies, scanning the area in search of Aaron. To her surprise, she spotted him standing alongside 2 policemen, dressed sharply in an expensive suit. He held a magnificent bouquet of flowers and balloons in his hands, looking clean and well-groomed. He appeared far from a destitute man. However, Emily couldn't help but wonder why the police were present. What could possibly be happening? She didn't need any more complications at this moment. Perplexed, Emily noticed that even the nurses had gathered, eager to witness the unfolding events. It was clear that such occurrences were rare. One of the policemen turned to Emily and greeted her with a polite "good afternoon." "The one who took a substantial amount of money from your car, do you know him?" Emily, unsure of how to respond, nodded her head, attempting to appear calm and unaffected. "Did he steal the money from you?" "He claims to have some connection to your husband." "Is there any truth to that?" Emily continued to nod, hoping to convey a sense of ease and nonchalance. "I apologize, it seems there has been a miscommunication." "Indeed, that is my spouse," she proudly proclaimed, a smile illuminating her face. "I personally bestowed upon him the gift of this automobile, therefore I assure you, officer, everything is in order. Please excuse us, as we are amidst a joyous occasion. Our precious bundles of joy, our triplets, are finally coming home. May we proceed to our humble abode?" The law enforcement officer's response was a simple, apologetic utterance. "Oh, we deeply regret any inconvenience caused. In order to ensure the safety of your car, we had to verify its authenticity. Well done, may you have a pleasant day ahead." With those parting words, the police officer exited the scene. Aaron, unaffected by the recent events, eagerly embraced Emily, presenting her with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. In his arms, he held two precious baby boys, while Emily cradled their darling little girl. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Aaron expressed, "Darling, I cannot thank you enough for bringing our precious babies into this world. I apologize for not being able to return from my business trip sooner. My love for you knows no bounds, my dear. Let us return to our humble abode and revel in our joyous union." With a sense of excitement, the couple hailed a taxi and embarked on their journey home, leaving the nurses in awe of the unexpected revelation of a husband accompanying this enigmatic woman of wealth. Despite the earlier encounter with the police, Emily's heart was filled with overwhelming happiness, radiating from within as everything had unfolded flawlessly. Grateful for the support and assistance, the young mother expressed her heartfelt gratitude to her companion. "Aaron, I cannot express my gratitude enough. You truly rescued me from a difficult situation. It seemed like everyone was under the impression that we were in a romantic relationship. Your acting skills were truly remarkable as you played the role of my husband. Please don't worry about returning the car. Feel free to withdraw the remaining funds from it. It's actually my spare vehicle, so I don't keep significant amounts of money inside. Once again, thank you for your invaluable assistance." "Good luck," the man said, feeling a tinge of embarrassment. He responded quietly, expressing his pleasure in helping Emily and his enjoyment of being married to such a beautiful woman. He lamented the quick end to their marriage and acknowledged that he couldn't offer her much, considering himself a beggar compared to her princess-like status. However, he assured her that if she ever needed help again, she knew where to find him. He wished her luck and complimented her on her adorable babies before they parted ways. Later, Richard was furious when he discovered Emily at home with the kids. He questioned why she had left the hospital alone in a cab when they had agreed he would pick her up at 2 o'clock. Emily confidently lied, claiming that the discharge had been rescheduled and assuring him that everything was fine. She introduced him to their long-awaited grandchildren, addressing him as Grandpa. "The overwhelming thought of managing 3 little ones all by myself weighed heavily on my mind. We really should consider hiring a nanny," Emily suggested. However, her father's face instantly contorted into a frown as he retorted sternly, "We don't require a nanny. You have the strength to handle everything independently. Learn to conquer challenges, my dear. I will hire a nanny, but only for a maximum of 3 hours per day. You mustn't allow yourself to become too at ease. Being a mother means devoting yourself fully to raising our children. It's your primary responsibility now." Emily was deeply wounded by her father's words. It pained her to hear him speak as if she lacked any capability. Why was he treating her this way? He had pleaded with her to give him grandchildren, but now he expected her to handle everything on her own. From that moment forward, Emily's life turned into a nightmare. The first 6 months were especially challenging, as the babies refused to eat or sleep at the same time. Just as one finally dozed off, the other would start crying, and this cycle repeated endlessly. The children suffered from tummy aches, then toothaches, and various other troubles. It seemed like there was always some kind of problem. Thankfully, an experienced individual provided some relief to the situation. In the midst of a young mother's impending nervous collapse, Nanny Helen sprang into action. Recognizing the signs of exhaustion, she swiftly whisked the babies away for a refreshing stroll. With compassion in her voice, she advised Emily to abandon her never-ending list of chores and retreat to the solace of her bed. "If you don't take care of yourself now," Helen warned, "you'll struggle to even rise in the morning. You're running on empty, my dear." Richard, bewildered by the situation, couldn't comprehend the magnitude of Emily's daily struggles. "I could handle a full day's work without breaking a sweat," he remarked. "It would be so much simpler for you." Helen, with a tone of empathy, added. A mix of emotions played across the young mother's face as she caught sight of her father, a combination of embarrassment and a telltale blush. However, beneath it all, her happiness was undeniable. Well, if it isn't Emily, he greeted her warmly. You're positively radiant. Have you lost weight? And my, how the little ones have grown. They're simply adorable. Your daughter is the spitting image of you, but the boys, well, they take after their father, don't they? Sitting down on the bench, Emily handed out water to the children and mustered up the courage to ask Aaron a question. You know, you're such a capable and diligent person. Why don't you pursue a regular job instead of this temporary gig? I can see that you have so much potential. It's just hard for me to understand why you're in this situation. Where do you find shelter at night? Emily couldn't help but feel a tinge of embarrassment as she shared her thoughts. After all, her struggles seemed insignificant compared to Aaron's plight. Aaron couldn't help but ponder Emily's words. Did he really want to keep everything to himself? Maybe she could offer some assistance. The thought of escaping this homeless existence was certainly appealing. Emily's intentions were not meant to be offensive, she simply wanted to comprehend his situation. With a heavy sigh, Aaron decided it was time to open up. He had been harboring these emotions for far too long. You're right, Emily, he admitted. This isn't how life should be, and it's all my own doing. Reflecting on his upbringing, he shared, I had a normal family, at least in the beginning. My mom and I lived in an apartment, but no matter how hard I searched, I could never uncover any information about my father. Despite that, I had the most amazing mom. She loved me unconditionally and supported me in every way she could. Working tirelessly as a cook in the canteen, she always made sure I had warm pies and other delicious treats. But the weight of raising me alone eventually took its toll on her, leaving her completely drained. However, comprehension eluded me. My sole focus was on socializing with my friends. The concept of studying held no appeal, and instead, I incessantly pestered my mother for a new phone or computer. Despite her best efforts, my mother worked extra shifts on weekends to ensure that I lacked nothing. Yet my desires knew no bounds, and I yearned to splurge and indulge myself. After completing high school, I pursued a college education, and my mother extended her support by securing a job for me as an electrician in a factory. Nevertheless, I continued to engage in heated arguments and clashes with her. In my mind, she was just trapped within the confines of outdated stereotypes. My wings were unable to fully unfurl, and the weight of misery seemed to engulf my entire existence, leaving me yearning for instant gratification, whether it be winning the lottery or seeking out a quick and effortless path to wealth. I craved it all. In my pursuit, I found myself entangled in the clutches of a nefarious crowd, succumbing to the allure of drinking and gambling. It was a treacherous path that led to addiction, consuming me entirely. Blinded by the allure of a life-changing jackpot, I squandered my entire paycheck in that place, convinced that fortune was just within reach. Despite my mother's desperate attempts to reason with me, her words fell on deaf ears. The weight of her concern grew unbearable, reaching a breaking point. Tragically, her health deteriorated rapidly, succumbing to a fatal heart attack. The burden of guilt weighed heavily upon me, knowing that my actions had played a significant role in her untimely demise. It was my own hand that led her to her final resting place. When my mother was alive, I hardly paid her any mind, but once she was gone, reality came crashing down upon me. The once bustling apartment now felt desolate and empty. There was no one to shower me with affectionate inquiries about my well-being or to ask how my day had been, no one to say those three precious words, I love you. I used to find her constant questioning irritating, but now, without her presence, my friends began to lead me astray, and I found myself falling back into the dangerous grip of gambling. And that's how I ended up losing the apartment, or rather, it was snatched away from me by a group of ruthless criminals. When I attempted to reclaim what was rightfully mine, they unleashed their fury upon me, warning me to vanish from their sight forever, or else. Threats of death were hurled at me, and my passport was forcibly taken away to ensure that I would not report the incident. As a result, I found myself without a home. Thankfully, my grandmother had left me an old, dilapidated house on the outskirts of the city, which now serves as my humble abode. However, the absence of proper identification has made it nearly impossible for me to secure a regular job. Now, my dear friend, you are fully acquainted with my story. This is my way of repaying for all the wrongs I have committed. Emily was taken aback by this revelation. She couldn't comprehend the situation. But isn't it possible to obtain a new passport? Simply explain that you have lost it, complete the necessary application, and they will issue a replacement, albeit with a fine. I am more than willing to provide you with the funds. Please, don't worry, Emily suggested. Aaron pondered, scratching the back of his head. It's not solely about money, although money does play a part. The truth is, I'm terrified of those fools, you know? But you're absolutely right, I need to take action. This life of homelessness has become unbearable. And what about you? You still haven't reconciled with the father of your children? It must be incredibly tough raising them on your own, huh? Emily suddenly interjected. Well, here's the thing, Emily confessed. There was no father involved in the conception of my children. I was like the modern-day Virgin Mary. I agreed to undergo an immaculate conception procedure. Sure, my father has wealth, but that doesn't bring me any solace. And with that, she poured out her heart to Aaron, revealing every torment she had carried within her soul for all those years. She had never realized that all she needed was someone to lend an ear, until now. As she concluded her heartfelt confession, she made it clear that despite the numerous challenges she faced, her love for her children knew no bounds. The identity of their father was irrelevant to her, they were undeniably hers. Sacrificing her own love life seemed inevitable with 3 kids to care for, but she had come to terms with it. Her sole purpose in life was to ensure the well-being of her precious babies. Aaron couldn't believe what he had just heard. You are truly a mother of immense strength and courage, he exclaimed. Not everyone has the bravery to make such selfless choices. Your father's actions are inexplicable. How can he claim to love you while inflicting such cruelty? It seems that both of us have taken a wrong turn in life, ending up in similar unfortunate circumstances. You know, Emily, I'm incredibly grateful that our paths crossed. Meeting you for the first time felt like embarking on an extraordinary adventure, and being around you brings me a sense of peace and contentment. Just sitting and talking with you, even though it may seem insignificant, soothes my soul in ways I can't explain. Emily's smile widened. You're absolutely right. We should meet here in the park more often. I need to take the kids for a walk every day. Come back tomorrow, and we can continue our conversations. Aaron agreed wholeheartedly. From that point on, they started meeting almost every day. Their conversations could stretch on for hours as they discovered how remarkably similar their tastes were in food, music, and movies. To ensure constant communication, Emily gifted Aaron an affordable cell phone. Now, they were always just a call away. Of course, word eventually reached Richard that his daughter and Aaron were regularly talking in the park. Emily found herself engaged in conversation with a questionable wanderer. This encounter infuriated the businessman, leading to a stern scolding of Emily once they arrived home. My dear, have you lost your senses? Has something happened to your mental state since giving birth? Why are you befriending vagrants, and why am I hearing about this from strangers? The word struck Emily with a wave of embarrassment, causing her to instinctively offer excuses. Dad, please lower your voice, we don't want to wake the babies. Aaron, a genuinely kind and intelligent individual, has always been a dear friend of mine. Engaging in conversations with him is always a pleasure due to his polite demeanor and sharp wit. Unfortunately, circumstances led him to become homeless unintentionally. However, there is hope on the horizon, as he will soon regain his identification and return to living a life like any other ordinary person. Richard, on the other hand, became infuriated and questioned Emily's peculiar choice of befriending someone experiencing homelessness. Perhaps it was the allure of that destitute man that captivated your heart? I must insist that you sever ties with him. It would bring shame upon our family name. Emily, in a rare display of anger, erupted, venting her frustrations. I am utterly exhausted by the weight of our family name, Dad. Sometimes I wish you had left me at the orphanage all those years ago. You didn't rescue me, you shattered my existence. You suffocate me, dictating every aspect of my life. Have you not realized that you have stolen my youth and my freedom? Not once did you inquire about my desires throughout my entire childhood. Swimming, in my opinion, was detestable. The fear of water still lingers within me. And what about the IVF? Did you ever consider my feelings when you coerced me into it? Is this the way a father should express love toward his daughter, especially when she is in need of my support with 3 children? Of course, I adore my children, and they are my reason for existence, but at the tender age of 24, I deserve a life of my own. It's time to put an end to this. Enough is enough. This is my life, and I will choose my own friends and partners without anyone's interference. The businessman was taken aback. His daughter had never spoken to him in such a defiant manner before. He tightened his fists and retorted, "Is that so? Unappreciative, you're just parroting your new acquaintance's beliefs. But that's all right, I'll fix it. Stay at home, take care of the children, that's your responsibility." Emily wept bitterly as she entered the nursery, and upon hearing her son's cries, proceeded to change his diaper. She felt a deep sadness, a profound hurt. Why doesn't her father love her? Why won't he make an effort to listen to her, to understand her? Why won't he let her live her own life? Will things always be this way? Richard was furious, pacing around his office and desperately brainstorming ways to protect his daughter from this scoundrel. He couldn't allow her to fall for him and bring this worthless person into their home. Determined, he summoned the head of the security department and issued his orders. "Stanley, I need your undivided attention," Mr. Parker urgently whispered. "I have a crucial task for you. My daughter is about to meet someone in the park, and I need you to shadow her discreetly. Once you locate this individual, confront him firmly. Make it clear that he must keep his distance from her. Advise him that I possess the authority to have him incarcerated if he persists. I suspect these individuals are engaging in unlawful activities, and I will not hesitate to impose penalties upon them. And make sure not to procrastinate, it's of utmost importance." Emily disregarded her father's advice and, a few days later, found herself face to face with Aaron once again. Still reeling from her father's actions, she confided in her friend about the situation. He simply shook his head and responded with a hint of anger. "Your father is nothing but a dictator. Who does he think he is, trying to dictate your every move? Emily, ever since I've met you, I've undergone a profound transformation, and my perspective on life has completely shifted. I've made the decision to begin anew. I will swiftly resolve the issue with my identification, I promise you. Once everything is in order, I will secure a respectable job and provide assistance to you. I desire for you to break free from your father's influence and embark on a life of your own choosing, not the life he envisions for you, but the life you truly desire. I understand the challenges you face with 3 children, but I will be by your side, and together we will overcome them. Both of us need to make changes in our lives to find happiness. What are your thoughts?" Emily was astonished at how accurately Aaron had captured her own thoughts and aspirations. In a hushed tone, she replied, "In my wildest dreams, I wish my father would simply leave me be and stay out of my life. Taking such a desperate step on my own is out of the question. However, if you were by my side, I would greatly appreciate it. But first, let's address all of your issues, and then we can reassess. Aaron, I have deep affection for you. We are kindred spirits, and I sincerely hope we never have to part ways. All right, I have to go now. I'll see you this weekend. I eagerly anticipate our next encounter. Goodbye." Aaron embraced her tightly, then gently caressed the children's cheeks, who were already beaming at him, and left with a renewed sense of determination, ready to make a change. Emily stormed into his life like a force of nature, completely upending everything he knew. From that moment on, his mind was consumed by thoughts of her. He couldn't help but be in awe of her bravery. Her heart tightened as Emily banged urgently on her neighbor's door. A silver-haired elderly man answered, and the young mother immediately bombarded him with questions. "Excuse me, have you seen Aaron? I can't find him anywhere, and he's not at home." The neighbor exhaled deeply. "Something happened this past Thursday. I was returning from the grocery store when I saw Aaron unconscious, bleeding in a puddle. I called an ambulance right away. They took him to the city hospital. It's dreadful to think who could do such a thing to him." Emily felt her legs buckle beneath her, feeling suddenly ill. She quickly called her babysitter, left her children in safe hands, and drove to the hospital. Her only thought was, "Oh my God, how is Aaron? Is he okay? He didn't have his ID on him. Will they even treat him? I have to help him. I can't leave him like this." It took an agonizingly long time for Emily to find out which hospital Aaron had been taken to. Finally, a nurse relayed the details after consulting with the doctor, her voice low. "I'm sorry, but your friend slipped into a coma yesterday. He has severe injuries and a concussion. He's on the brink of life and death." Emily cried out, "No! How could this happen? Who would do this to him? He's such a kind soul. Maybe he needs medication. I'll get whatever is needed. Please, just save him, I beg you." She spoke at length with the doctor, who promised to keep her updated on any changes in Aaron's condition. Emily paid for all his medical procedures and care and began visiting him regularly. Yet, each visit brought the same dire update: his condition was critical, with no improvement. "Prepare for the worst," the doctor advised. Devastated, Emily wept, unable to accept that she might lose Aaron. She prayed for his recovery and believed fervently that he would improve. She despised those responsible for his condition. But as they say, trouble doesn't come alone. A week later, the police arrived at Emily's doorstep. Her father was arrested, accused of assaulting Aaron. His assistant had reported him and provided a video recording from a phone that showed the attack on a homeless man. In disbelief, Emily erupted in hysterics. "Dad, please say it isn't true. You couldn't have done such a thing, could you? How could you beat a man nearly to death? Why? Tell me, I need the truth." Her father, a shocked businessman, didn't deny the charges and quietly responded, "Yes, I instructed my security chief to confront this vagrant and tell him to stay away from you, but I never ordered them to kill him. I didn't mean for this to happen, my dear. I'm so sorry." As Emily watched her father being led away, she whispered bitterly, "I hate you, Dad. You've ruined my life again, you've destroyed it. Why? How dare you? What did Aaron ever do to you?" Richard was bewildered himself. "Why did they do that? I only asked them to talk to him, not to kill him. Someone has clearly set me up, but how can I prove it to Emily? She now hates me and thinks I'm a murderer. What if this poor man dies? What then? Oh my gosh, what have I done? Why did I think I could decide for her? It's because of my damn ambitions. I feel sorry for the young man, he's the same age as my daughter." These were trying times for Emily. She was torn between the hospital and caring for her children, all responsibilities now resting on her fragile shoulders. Despite her anger at her father, she still provided him with warm clothes and all necessities and even hired a lawyer for him. She couldn't do otherwise. From early childhood, Emily knew her father could be tough and strict, but he never lied. Under no circumstances would he tolerate dishonesty. So someone had indeed set him up, had almost beaten Aaron to death intentionally so that her father would end up in jail. One day, utterly exhausted from walking back from the hospital where Aaron showed no signs of improvement and the doctors were stumped, Emily decided to visit a church to light a candle and request a prayer for both Aaron and her father. She prayed fervently, whispering from the depths of her soul, pleading not to lose her loved ones. Miraculously, the next day brought incredible news. The doctor called to inform her that Aaron had awakened from his coma. Overjoyed and in disbelief, Emily rushed to the hospital. Though still very weak, Aaron managed a faint smile upon seeing her. She sat beside him, recounting the ordeal she had endured. Then she added, "Aaron, my dad swears he didn't order the attack. He just wanted to have a serious conversation with you, to keep you away from me. He doesn't understand who would beat you so badly. I don't think he's lying, he's never lied to me. And now Dad's had a heart attack in prison. I'm furious with him, but I pity him too. I mean, you've been through so much, they almost killed you, and it's partly my father's fault." Aaron replied quietly, "I won't press charges. Don't worry, everything will be all right. Thank you for being by my side. I heard you covered my medical expenses. You're an extraordinary person, Emily. I've never met anyone like you. And about your dad, I hope he comes to realize the consequences of his actions. Prison won't make him any kinder." Emily sobbed, expressing her hope. "Thank you. I hope Dad will be released now. When will this nightmare end? I won't let you go back to your rundown house with no proper living conditions. Once you're discharged, we'll have enough money for the first time." Aaron nodded weakly, looking at her tenderly. "I agree. Now everything will change, trust me. We will have our own family, and no one can stop us." Soon, Richard was released as Aaron had made no legal claims against him. The man rejoiced, savoring the scent of freedom as he stood outside the prison gates. A car awaited him, the driver holding the door open. Richard had thought his daughter would be there to meet him, but she was nowhere in sight. When he arrived home, he slowly realized that none of Emily or the children's belongings were there, only a note lay on the kitchen table. "Dad, don't try to find me. Aaron and I are together now, accept it, and don't ruin my life anymore. I don't deserve this." Richard sank into a chair, clutching his head. "Old fool, idiot. What have you achieved? What are you left with? You pushed your daughter, trying to toughen her up. But as a result, you lost Emily and your grandchildren." The huge mansion suddenly felt empty and cold, missing the babble of babies. No one cooked delicious breakfasts or waited for him at home. Initially, Richard set out to uncover who had framed him. He conducted his own investigation and discovered that his deputy had been secretly working for his competitors. He was the one who had persuaded the head of security to take things into their own hands and disobey the boss. Richard fired them, but it did little to ease his sorrow. He missed his daughter and grandchildren terribly, and the guilt was tormenting him. He hadn't even apologized to the poor man who had nearly died because of his orders. The businessman decided to rectify his mistake and beg for forgiveness from his daughter and Aaron. It wasn't hard to find their address, and he went to visit them, full of apprehension. What if they refused to let him in? If so, they'd be justified. He'd done so many terrible things to his daughter, even though his intentions were good. The family was just sitting down to lunch, the kids clumsily tapping their spoons against their bowls, trying to eat vegetable puree, smearing it humorously all over their faces. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Emily tensed up. Who could it be? We're not expecting anyone. Maybe it's the landlady needing something. The young mother went to open the door, finding her father standing there with a large bag and a bouquet of beautiful scarlet roses. He said timidly, "Forgive me, daughter. I've come to beg for forgiveness. Will you let me in? If you kick me out, I'll understand." Emily's heart was moved. She had never seen her father like this before, devoid of arrogance or superiority. And his pleas for forgiveness were so heartfelt that she couldn't resist and hugged him. "Come in, Dad. Wash your hands, we're about to have lunch. Join us." Aaron eyed the businessman incredulously, still not fully believing that he had come with peaceful intentions. But Richard immediately said, "Hold on, daughter, I'll eat later. I have something important to say." He turned to Aaron. "I am very sorry to you. I repent, but I didn't order them to kill you, I swear. Forgive me if you can." Then, addressing both Emily and Aaron, he added, "I'm so sorry. When I realized that happiness means different things to different people, it was too late. Emily, you're not like me, like most people, and I couldn't accept that for a long time. I wanted you to be bold and pushy. I wanted you to inherit my business, and I deliberately made things difficult for you, like tests, thinking that by overcoming them, you would grow stronger. But I endured it and kept quiet for so many years. And when I lost you, I suddenly realized how much I love you, how much I miss you, how much I miss my grandchildren. I've thought everything over, and I'm not going to cause you any more problems. I promise." Aaron smiled and shook the businessman's hand. "I forgive you, Richard. I'm glad you understood everything. Emily is wonderful, amazing. I love her, and I love the babies too. Here, look what I've taught them." Aaron clapped his hands, and the children clapped back, synchronized, one hand and then the other. Emily felt a mixture of relief and apprehension as she watched Aaron interact with her father. Her heart had been through so much turmoil, yet here they were, possibly on the brink of mending some of the deep rifts that had formed. Richard's face lit up as he watched his grandchildren mimic Aaron's actions. The joy in his eyes was palpable, and for a moment, Emily saw the father she remembered from her childhood, the one who, despite his flaws, had always loved her deeply. "Dad," Emily said, her voice soft but firm, "I'm willing to move forward, but things will be different now. We need to build trust again, slowly, for the kids' sake, for all our sakes." Richard nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I agree, Emily. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be here as much or as little as you want me to be. I just want to be part of your lives, to make up for the mistakes I've made." The room was filled with cautious optimism as they sat down to lunch together. The conversation was light, mostly revolving around the children and everyday life, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper being rebuilt among them. After lunch, Richard helped clean up, a small gesture, but one that did not go unnoticed by Emily. As the afternoon faded into evening, Richard prepared to leave, not wanting to overstay his welcome. "Thank you for letting me into your home and into your lives, even if just for a meal," he said, his voice laden with gratitude. Emily walked him to the door, the children now sleepy and clinging to her legs. "We'll see how things go, Dad. Let's take it one step at a time," she replied, giving him a tentative smile. Richard nodded and stepped out into the cool evening air, feeling a mix of regret for the past and hope for the future. As he walked to his car, he looked back at the house, a symbol of the family he almost lost. He knew the road to redemption would be long and perhaps fraught with setbacks, but for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to face whatever challenges came his way. He was determined to restore the trust and love of his family, no matter what it took. As he drove away, his thoughts were with his daughter and grandchildren, and with the man who had forgiven him. He was grateful for this second chance, and he wouldn't waste it. Richard embraced Julia, followed by Brandon and David, showering them with hugs and kisses. Tears welled up in his eyes as he whispered, "My dear children, how I've longed for you. Grandpa simply cannot bear to be without you." The businessman chimed in, offering his assistance. "Aaron, if you require any help with the paperwork, just let me know. I have the means to expedite the process. I have connections in every corner. Just provide me with your birth year and place, and I will ensure a swift issuance of a new passport." Aaron's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you so much. Your help would mean the world to me. I've been running from one office to another for the past 3 weeks, but to no avail. Please allow me to jot down my details." Richard's hand trembled as he held the notebook. "What did you say? It can't be. What was your mother's name?" Aaron appeared bewildered. "Kate. Unfortunately, my mother has already passed away." In a sudden moment, Emily's father transformed into a statue, his hand tightly gripping his chest. Emily's heart raced with fear. "Dad, what's happening? Are you all right?" she exclaimed, rushing to his side. Urgently, she handed him a glass of water. "Is it your heart acting up again?" Richard slowly regained his composure, his words tumbling out in a jumbled manner. Once upon a time, in the distant past, when I was still a young, eager student, I relished not only my academic pursuits, but also the thrill of going on romantic rendezvous. During that time, I found myself entangled in a fiery, intense love affair with a girl named Kate. Our passion burned bright, but sadly, it was short-lived. Kate hailed from a humble background, raised solely by her grandmother. My parents, upon meeting her, immediately disapproved and urged me to sever ties with this seemingly ordinary girl. Fate intervened when I had to embark on a business trip to a different city. The separation was prolonged, and our paths diverged, leading us down separate destinies. Little did I know, my supposedly urgent business trip was nothing more than a ploy orchestrated by my parents to drive a wedge between me and my fiancée. They believed that once I returned, I would abandon her and seek a wealthier partner. However, fate had other plans in store for me. It was during that ill-fated journey that I fell gravely ill, succumbing to the harsh grip of hypothermia. The aftermath left me barren, unable to conceive a child. Despite this setback, I poured my heart and soul into my career and built a successful business, all the while hoping to find someone who could fill the void left by Kate. Alas, my search proved fruitless. That's when I made the life-changing decision to adopt you, Emily, from the orphanage. But as fate would have it, a surprising twist awaited me. A son, my own flesh and blood, emerged into my life. To confirm this newfound connection, a DNA test is necessary. However, deep within my heart, I am certain that you are my beloved son. Aaron was filled with an overwhelming sense of shame as he realized the near tragedy he had caused, almost taking the life of his own son. The weight of his actions pressed heavily upon him, and he desperately sought forgiveness, if such a thing could be granted. As he looked into the eyes of the businessman, disbelief washed over him. This revelation was too much to comprehend. His mind raced, and he muttered in confusion, "I don't know. I've never been told anything about my father." He needed time to process this new information, to make sense of it all. Uncertainty hung in the air as they were still unsure of the truth. In a sudden plea, Richard begged his daughter and Aaron to return home. He painted a picture of the grandeur and comfort of their mansion, emphasizing how it would be a better environment for their 3 children compared to their cramped apartment. He expressed his desire for companionship, admitting that he couldn't bear to live alone. He made a promise not to interfere in their lives any longer, allowing them the freedom to live as they wished. With a heartfelt plea, he implored Aaron to stand by his side. The young individuals engaged in a heated dispute regarding the proposition, ultimately reaching a consensus that renting an apartment would be a wasteful expenditure, considering they already owned a house. A conclusive DNA test verified the biological connection between Richard and Aaron, yet their relationship did not immediately improve. Aaron harbored deep-seated mistrust toward the businessman, anticipating deceit or false accusations. However, as time elapsed, Richard underwent a remarkable transformation. He no longer felt ashamed, but rather took pride in his family. He wholeheartedly endeavored to mend his bond with his son, assisting Aaron in reclaiming his identification documents and extending a job offer within his own company. Richard imparted invaluable knowledge from the ground up. Their constant and meaningful communication yielded fruitful results in a short span of time. A strong bond formed between the father and son, leading to open communication, mutual respect, and genuine affection for one another. However, the businessman did not neglect his daughter. On the contrary, he showered praise upon Emily, demonstrating his deep appreciation and love for her. The family experienced a true sense of unity and friendship, and after just 6 months, they decided to orchestrate a grand wedding. The businessman no longer concerned himself with the opinions of others. What truly mattered was the happiness of everyone involved, and everything else paled in comparison. As time went on, the children matured and brought immense joy to their parents. Little did Emily know that when she impulsively chose Aaron, a homeless man, as her husband and father to their child, she would discover the most unwavering, devoted, and loving partner. What started as a twist of fate quickly transformed into a beautiful reality. Life, with all its unpredictability, never fails to deliver miracles.